68% of Americans are living with financial trauma right now. Not financial stress, financial trauma. The kind that rewires how your brain processes fear. The kind that makes you flinch when your phone rings. The kind that follows you, silently, into every relationship you have ever tried to build. And here's what nobody tells you. You are probably passing it on to the person sleeping next to you tonight, and neither of you knows it's happening. 1 in 3 millennials in America meets the clinical criteria for PTSD, not from war, not from an accident, from money, from the chronic terror of not having enough, from watching parents fight about bills at the kitchen table, from the first time a card was declined in front of someone you wanted to impress, from 3 months of living on the edge that never fully went away. That experience did not stay in your wallet. It moved into your nervous system, and your nervous system brought it into your relationship. The Stoics had a name for what this does to a person, and more importantly, they had a cure. Stay with me. Here's what financial trauma actually does inside a relationship. When your nervous system was trained by money fear, by scarcity, by shame, by watching adults panic about numbers, it learned one rule: money equals danger. And your body cannot separate the memory of that danger from the person sitting across from you at the dinner table. So when she mentions the credit card bill, your body doesn't hear a question about finances, it hears a threat. Your jaw tightens, your voice goes flat, you become unavailable. Not because you don't love her, because your nervous system is 18 years old again, listening through a wall to a fight that was never yours to solve. That is not a communication problem, that is a trauma response. And treating it like a communication problem is why the same argument happens every single month. Researchers at the University of Southern California found that people with financial PTSD symptoms show measurable changes in how they process threat signals. They're hypervigilant, always scanning, always waiting for the financial floor to fall. And hypervigilance in a relationship reads to your partner as coldness, as distance, as not caring, when it's actually the opposite. It's someone caring so much about survival that they've forgotten how to be present. Financial trauma does not announce itself. It does not say, "I'm afraid." It says, "You spent too much." It says, "Why didn't you tell me about that charge?" It says nothing and goes to bed. 2,000 years ago, a man who had lost everything, his freedom, his health, his family, diagnosed this exact pattern. His name was Epictetus, and what he wrote still holds. Epictetus was born a slave in Rome. He was owned by a man who broke his leg deliberately as a demonstration of power. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life. And from that position, from a body that had been physically controlled by another person, he built the most precise psychological system for understanding why humans suffer that the ancient world ever produced. He understood something that no modern therapist has ever improved upon. The wound is not what happened to you. The wound is what happened to you that you never examined. The unexamined wound is the one that lives in your marriage, the one that speaks in your arguments, the one that goes silent when you need it to speak. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. Read that again with your relationship in mind. Your partner did not spend $200. That's the thing that happened. What disturbed you was the opinion your nervous system attached to it. We are going to lose everything. I am not enough. History is repeating. That opinion came from a wound that existed before you ever met her, and it's not her job to heal it, but it is your job to name it. That naming is where the Stoic cure begins.
The first Stoic practice is called the Origin Audit. It takes 10 minutes. You do it alone, before any conversation with your partner. Here is exactly how. Write down the last money argument you had. not the surface version, the real one. Then write this question beneath it. How old was I the first time I felt this exact feeling about money? Not this year, not last year, the first time. For most people, the answer is somewhere between 8 and 16. A parent's panic, a school lunch paid for in change, a holiday that quietly wasn't, an eviction, a whispered conversation they were not supposed to hear. That memory is the author of your argument, not your partner, not the bank account. Epictetus called this prosoche, self-attention, the deliberate act of watching your own mind before it acts on someone else. When you know where the reaction comes from, you stop sending it to the wrong address. The second practice is called the trauma translation. This one requires your partner, not a therapist, not a journal, the actual person sitting across from you. Here's how it works. The next time money becomes a trigger in your relationship, before you respond from the wound, say 3 words out loud. I am reacting. Not, you are wrong. Not, here we go again. I am reacting. Those 3 words do something neurologically significant. They activate the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, and interrupt the amygdala's automatic response. The trauma cannot speak when the present self is speaking. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every morning. He called it the premeditation, imagining what might trigger him that day and deciding in advance who he would be when it did. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He was not being pessimistic. He was removing the element of surprise. When the wound has no surprise to feed on, it starves. The third and deepest practice has no technique. It is a decision. You decide that the financial wound from your past is yours to carry, not theirs to survive. Not because they don't care, because they cannot heal what they did not cause. The Stoics believed, and research now confirms, that naming a wound removes a significant portion of its power. Not all of it, but enough. Enough to stop sending it to the person who chose you. Enough to say, for the first time, this reaction is mine. This fear is old. This argument is not about us. It is about something that happened before us. And I am going to stop letting it write our story. That sentence, spoken out loud to yourself or to them, is the most financially intelligent thing you will ever say. Because the most expensive thing in your life is not your rent, it is not your debt, it is the cost of carrying an unexamined wound into every relationship you have ever loved. You have power over your mind, not outside events, not the debt, not the argument you had last Tuesday, not the kitchen table you grew up at, your mind. That is where the relationship is saved or lost, every single time. 3 things tonight. 1. Write down the last money argument. Beneath it, write, how old was I the first time I felt this? 2. Before your next money conversation, say out loud to yourself, I am reacting. 3. Write this somewhere you will see it tomorrow. The wound is mine. The relationship is ours. That is the work. Not a budget, not a spreadsheet, a decision about who is writing your story. The wound was never yours to keep. Subscribe for more of this every week. See you in the next one.